It is Kevin McCullough in the studios of AFA today. We are so glad that you're with us. Live shot there of the Statue of Liberty if you are watching on the AFA channel. We're very glad that you're with us, though I wish, I will tell you right up front, I wish that this weekend had gone differently in so many ways. It's not often that big news is made on the weekends. I think a lot of times people in public office try to hopefully sneak stuff under the rug by releasing it on weekends or by doing it over the weekend. And in the 24-hour news cycle, if that's still the mentality of the average elected leader, I think you've got some disappointment ahead of you. Because you affected this on Saturday, Mr. President, doesn't mean that nobody was watching and that we were all just going to accept the outcome as you hoped it would be, which is kind of intriguing. I'm not sure. Maybe you have a difference of opinion on that. 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. But it's been the thing that has been talked about throughout the news today. It should be. Because we broke new territory, we broke new ground. We did something with this operation in exchanging 5 of the most militant Taliban/Al-Qaeda detainees that we had in Gitmo for the life of one soldier. Now, I brought this up. Some of you know that I do a Saturday night broadcast with the actor Stephen Baldwin. It's not heard on these stations, but on many stations across the country. And at that time, the story was still just hours old, and so we didn't know nearly as much about this sergeant as we do this morning or today or whenever you're hearing this, if it's later in the evening. But here's the thing. This particular soldier was an interesting guy. This Bergdahl was an interesting guy. It's as though he hated the country that he volunteered to serve for. In recent weeks before he disappeared, he wrote an email to his parents disparaging his troops, disparaging his nation, really expressing his disillusionment with what was going on in Afghanistan. And there was this kind of unapologetic sourness that he had for America. And then when you add on to that the fact that he was asked if he could, and this is strange, he asked his commanding officer if he could take his rifle and his night vision goggles out off the base and out into the field with him. And he said no. He asked if he could take special time away from the base, and they said no. And so he goes back. He gets a big knife. He gets some letter writing stuff, some paper and some pens and things, and some other items, and just walks away. This is according to his commanding officers and the officers that served with him there in the region near the Pakistani border where they were at when he was taken captive in 2009. Now, should that, and this is a simple question, should that have anything to do, should the circumstances by which he disappeared and was, quote, taken captive, end quote, should that have anything to do with whether or not we surrender 5 of the most hardcore of the hardline, some of the top 5 terrorists in the world? 888-589-8840. I'm curious as to what you think about this, because I've heard 2 things on most of the media today. Some of it is, and it's like people that are of the political or cultural right. They're immediately saying, as I said on Saturday night, I'm really happy for the family. You get your son back. That's a good thing. They're almost apologizing out of the beginning of the discussion to say, well, we're very happy for the family. No one can know the amount of joy that the family has, et cetera, et cetera. What if that doesn't turn out to be the case? What if it turns out to be the case that he actually wasn't necessarily a captive the whole time? The only reason that I ask that is because he has trouble now speaking English because he speaks the language of the region so well. His father, and I didn't see this part of the press conference. I didn't watch the press conference. I just read about the press briefing later. But the idea that the father spoke to him in I don't know, was it Peshti or whatever the language was that he spoke to him at the podium from the White House Rose Garden. And then when you see the pictures of the Rose Garden ceremony, you're like, whoa, okay, Dad's down with something. And then we find out about the tweets that his dad had been posting where he says, I hope to liberate all of the Gitmo detainees. I'm just curious, and I want to know from your perspective, does the fact of the circumstances of how he went missing, does that matter? Should it matter? Is there any importance to what those circumstances were as to now what we've given up to get him back? Because we basically gave up 5 high-powered generals from the other side for one private on our team who was barely on our team. By the way, I can determine some of what his fellow troop members and supervisors and other people are saying about what his time in service was like. And this is a very atypical conversation for me, because normally I'm very much, we support our troops, we thank our troops, we give them the benefit of the doubt at all times. That's just my way of thinking. That's my knee-jerk position. Our troops are incredible and brave, and they deserve every accolade that we can give them, unless you prove to me otherwise. But you have Senator McCain in his first interview today yesterday talking to CBS News on Face the Nation, calling the former detainees that we let go on Saturday the hardest of the hardcore. The 5 former detainees, according to CBS News, include the founders of the Taliban movement, senior commanders, and one who could be prosecuted for war crimes because he presided over the mass killing of Shiites in Afghanistan in 2000 and 2001. See, this is troublesome to me. On Saturday evening, I had some former special ops people that served in the special ops area saying this fellow could have been. We could have attempted a special operations strike team into the region to get him out, and we wouldn't have to give up the 5 nasty guys that we've now set free. I'm sorry, we didn't set them free. We gave them an all-expense paid vacation to Qatar for the next year, and then they're going to be set free. Dr. Susan Rice was asked about this yesterday, and she's like, we didn't negotiate with terrorists. These are all prisoners of war. Except the side that we're fighting are terrorists. Chuck Hagel, the Secretary of Defense, said the same thing. This is a prisoner exchange. Do those rules apply? Do those rules apply in this scenario? Or are we in the same situation as we were, say, with the Nazis at the end of World War II? 888-589-8840. 888-589-8840. I got to think, America, that you have an opinion about this. Here's the thing. Do the circumstances of his disappearance, do they play any role? Is it of any significance to how and why we negotiated what we negotiated for his release? 888-589-8840. 888-589-8840. Does it have anything? Does it matter at all that his father gave an Islamic shout out to the watching world from the Rose Garden on Saturday? Does it matter at all that his father is an advocate attempting to get all Gitmo detainees, but let me just remind you, the ones that are left are the worst of the worst. We've let go everyone we think isn't that bad, and most of them have gone back to the game of terrorism. Most of them have gone back to the active service of the terrorists. So letting more people out now means that we let more of the people that did the original planning, and we're really just the truly, truly hardest core bad guys, letting them go back to the fight. Do the circumstances around any of these things, do they matter in terms of how you feel about the fact that this boy is now on his way home? See, Saturday night I said to my audience there, I said, look, I'm happy for the family. Trying to demonstrate that as a cold-hearted conservative, I still have some degree of feeling for families that have been split apart. I didn't know all the details of how he went missing or got taken captive originally. Now that some of those have begun to come to light, I'm starting to ask myself the question, should we have negotiated in this thing at all? And what was the big hurry that all of a sudden it had to happen without Congress's permission this weekend? Chuck Hagel was asked about that on one of the shows, and he said, well, I informed the proper authorities about it, but, we were in a race against time. He didn't explain what that meant. He implied that it had something to do with the prisoner's health. I haven't heard that he's, on his last leg of a bout with cancer or some other disease. So I don't know what that is, and I'm not sure what that fully entails. But I don't know that I buy the explanation either. I mean, I would love Secretary Hagel to explain what that means. I would love for Dr. Rice to try to at least come up with some sort of explanation where she can say, look, this wasn't negotiating with terrorists. We didn't negotiate with the terrorists. So my question is, does the circumstance of his disappearance, does the circumstance of his captivity, does the how he ended up there, should it have anything to do with whether or not we go and get him? 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Does the fact that his father is an overt Islamic sympathizer, practitioner, big long beard, speaking in some sort of Arabic or Persian dialect on television on the weekend from the Rose Garden, basically giving a shout out to Islam and to those that were watching who understood what he was saying. There's some people that are concerned that this guy actually could have been turned and have become an agent against the America upon his return. I'm curious as to your thoughts on this. It's without question one of the biggest moves that an administration has ever made, and to do so unilaterally without Congress's actions, without other input. I'm just curious how you feel about this, because I'm kind of concerned that we just turned 5 of the world's worst terrorists loose, that may come back to have repercussions on us that maybe the administration didn't think through, because they think everything through so well all the time. 888-589-8840. Now we'll talk with you about it when we return. 888-589-8840. I'm Calvin McCullough. This is AFA Today on AFR Talk.